Sounds good.
Hey, so how are you tonight?
Good, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm good, good. Thank you for doing the podcast. I know it's been a while. I've asked you a long time ago, but life got busy. Um, so, a few things. You're well known in handball here in Alberta and Canada, but I mean, you got married, you got a full time job, so a lot of the younger people don't know a lot about you. They know Zoran, but they don't know a lot about who you are, where you came from, like my generation does. If you can give us a little bit of history, I mean, obviously you have amazing experiences in handball from the start, but kind of where you came from, how you got involved handball here, a little bit of your history of where you played and the level you played at.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me, first of all. And let's go down the memory lane a little bit. I was born and raised in what today is Croatia. It used to be Yugoslavia. Went to school there, started my handball there, played there. As well played in Serbia before coming to Canada in 1993. Young guy at the time. And for first year and a half, I kind of heard but didn't find handball here. And then through ATHF at a time and Julius Fedor, who was my first contact, I found out about it. And he introduced me to some guys that were playing. And my first experience here was actually outdoor tournament that was played in Ellerslie rugby fields. So that was kind of interesting. I came straight from Division I handball in Europe in about a year and a half to the grass tournament in Canada. And I actually loved it because it was interesting. I never played on grass before. So that was kind of cool. And that's how this whole thing started. After that, joined the club in 95. That's our club, Wanderers. And started playing on the club, starting playing on a provincial team in Alberta, starting playing, actually coaching junior team at a time, high school team and a junior team, which you were on actually.
Yeah.
You were in my first iteration of the players that I coached in Canada. And after that, just continued with that. Joined the national team a couple of years after because that's the time I got the citizenship, I believe in early 98, because my first official competition was, I believe, in 98 in Pan Am Championship in Cuba. We played some other events before, but I couldn't play officially because I didn't have citizenship. And I remember we had qualifications, I believe, in 2005 or 6, or 95 or 96 in Colorado Springs, but I couldn't play for the national team because of citizenship. Anyway, long story short, played on the national team for a long time, 2 Pan American games, some Pan American championships. Later on, assistant coach in the national team juniors, my national team coach seniors. Pretty much, I think I did every single job that there is to be done on the side of handball here.
So
Administrator from time to time, and there we are.
So going back, Yugoslavia. So how would you played professionally there?
I did. Actually, when I played professionally, Yugoslavia already really did not exist because when I was 18, 19 years old, I went to high school, finished high school, served my military draft, which was an obligation to do, and then after that, the war really started in Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia broke apart. So I started my professional career in Serbia, where I played for about 2.5 years before I came to Canada. And because the living conditions were really bad, there's sanctions. Sport was paid, but not as much as before that. And my family and I decided that we should try our luck somewhere else. So we came to Canada.
And did you, at that point, have any clue that handball existed in Canada?
Not really. Not really. I did not pay attention. I was really young at the time. As I said, 19, 20, 21, quite busy with events over there. Never crossed my mind, never thought that I would immigrate, but circumstances became such. I totally had different plans. I was going to university. I finished 2 years in university in Belgrade. I was playing pro ball, so it was going to be one or the other or both or in different order. But circumstances made us made these decisions. And realistically, the handball was not the reason, but I was really glad to find it here because it was a great part of my life. It still is, and it was really something that I appreciated. It gave me a really certain platform to start life here and have a social life besides just moving here and kind of looking for everything from outside in.
So your first tournament was the outdoor tournament. I remember that because that was one of my first tournaments playing within like outside of school handball. I remember, I still remember this day because the weather wasn't good that weekend. And I remember seeing you and you were doing behind the back passes and the Zoran passes. Do you remember at all, like when you started playing, what you thought of handball here? Like, were you kind of like, oh, it's not bad? Or were you like, oh my God, this is horrible?
Actually, there was two things. Interesting enough, I actually found some of the players to be really capable, and I really had fun. I was really worried because I didn't know anything about it that there would be nobody that can be at any decent level. And actually, we came in, and there was a couple other guys from Europe that were fresh. I remember Joe Panek and Greg Peska. And then there's guys that played in Europe international teams and on tours like Fedor, Steve, and Kevin Kuipers and Brad. They had some experiences going abroad, and they had some of that level of equality. So it was okay. Well, here we got something. The other thing that was great, these guys were very enthusiastic. They had a great attitude, very enthusiastic, love the sport, love to compete. So I was feeling, yeah, we have a group that wants to do some cool stuff together. And then they brought a whole bunch of young guys. So that stuff was already presented. The young people were there. They, in my mind, just needed maybe a little bit more help and a little more room. And you know, in handball, it's very hard to get that professional involvement and time into coaching and building because it's not professional. Until many years later, when maybe we moved the posts a little bit further with you and some other things, and hopefully that can continue and improve.
So after you started playing, how did you get involved in coaching?
In coaching, actually, are you talking about Canada or in general?
No, like with Alberta Handball, like because you came and then all of a sudden, like I think it was your first year, you became the junior coach.
Actually, I started coaching high school first. I coached Queenie at the high school because first year that I got involved, I believe that junior team was coached by Kelly Cadets, and they went to nationals in Moncton or something like that. That's not when I coached. I coached the year after. So that team kind of finished up, and we were doing a couple of things with the high schools, and I believe that Julius asked me, or I can't remember exactly, to step in to do this. And it turned out that we did pretty well to start with, and then we picked up a couple of guys from different high schools. Like you were there, and Lyle, and guys from St. Albert. And I also went the year before that with Julius to Calgary to one of their summer tournaments because Edmonton League was already over. And I remember Colorado Springs Academy was there. And I met Steve there, and then there was a couple of his players. So I had a couple of initial contacts, and it was decided, okay, well, let's try to put this together, and let's try to push these guys a little bit further, experience-wise and maybe results-wise. And I was quite motivated to do that because I really figured that down the road, although we had some senior players that were of the good merit, that was not going to be good enough. We needed you guys, your generation, to step up and fill the ranks, which happened. And a couple of years later, we won national championships. First you in 97 and us senior in 98, 2 years of work with actually young guys gaining the quality, filling up the older ranks, and then we had very good run after that.
So for me anyways, you're the first person I known in handball at that time that really helped me out, helped me grow as a handball player, kind of grew handball to the next level. with the knowledge of handball, from my side, from my generation. What did you think of it, like when you went to your first national championships? I think with juniors as a coach was in Sherbrooke or Manitoba.
No, I believe it was in Manitoba. This is the generation 1975, I believe, that Harold Stark still played and Alvin Huey still played.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the year before. That's 96, and you guys won in 97 later on, also in Manitoba. It was 2 years in a row.
So you, with that, and then you going to senior nationals, what did you think of the level of handball in Canada?
I realized from the get-go that it's not the level of professional handball in Europe for many reasons. I mean, it's kind of obvious to us. It wasn't professional here. There was not that much competition and whatnot. But it was quite obvious that only a couple of centers had advanced handball at the time.
Yeah.
And one of them was not Alberta. It was Quebec that we played there, and they were quite advanced because they had lots of players, obviously, training with the real coaches and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Ontario was good at the time with their legendary generation. Manitoba had quite a following, although quality was kind of close to Alberta.
Yeah.
And so there was a good base there. There was a good base and there were numbers. So what gave me the hope was that, yeah, it's not top level, okay, but there is a chance that if we put a little bit more of a kind of professional attitude, desire, and potentially more skill type of training and more of the skill type of experience, that we could, in a couple of years, potentially push towards competing with all Pan-American teams at least. Because I knew we're not going to compete with professional Europeans. That was not the goal. That was not the possibility. So our goal became to compete in Pan-American level, hopefully, over the next few years.
And so you were part of the provincial team. I think the senior national team or senior provincial team, 98 when we won nationals was the first time Alberta's won in quite a long time.
I think so.
And then you started with the national team as well. You won, I believe, I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it anywhere. You won Player of the Century, like at your position for Canada, or an award like that?
It was, how are we going to call it? It was kind of Hall of Fame introduction, but they had two teams. And in the year 2000, I believe that Canadian Team Handball has picked some people that up to that point in time should have been in what they call Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And then they called it, they made a couple of teams. There was first 7, second 7, so 2 teams, male and female, that they introduced into that Hall of Fame in Montreal. I didn't participate in that introduction. I think we were somewhere at the competition, or I was doing some schooling or something like that. I wasn't there, but I have a plaque. So yeah, that happened a few years later. But I was fortunate enough that, besides the great generation of 1976 Olympics and some people that came after, I was part of my generation where there's quite a few good guys, and we managed to get into a few really good competitions with the teams that later on won and placed really well in the world. And namely, you were their Cuban team from 97 or 98. They went to Tunisia, I think, World Championship, and they got 4th.
Yeah.
They lost the bronze medal match. And after that, Brazil and Argentina improved so much that they were beating world champions after that. So that was pretty serious competition that we were encountering at the time.
Zoran, just 1 second. I want to show you something.
Okay.
So that hopefully you can see it. But do you see that poster?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Cuba poster.
Yes. Is that the one you took from the hallway in the big gym in Havana?
Yeah, it has like all the signatures of the players on the team and everything.
Yes, I think I might have actually one thing like that, but somewhere rolled up and a couple other competitions. That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
That was one. I will say that was probably one of the best handball competitions I was ever in. The level was quite incredible. And when you look at where those players are right now, I mean, just look at the Vesprem's bench. I mean, Carlos Perez is assistant coach of Davis right now, and I mean, he played there for 15 years, and this whole team that was there, so that was no joke.
What about the pivot? Euros? He was.
Orlando Urias, yes, he got Spanish nationality after that. Orlando got the best pivots in the top first 7 ever. He was best scorer, I think, on the World Championship as a pivot, first time in his position. So it was pretty crazy. Ivo Diaz was center back. The goalie came and he played with actually Ivano Balic in Portland, San Andrea, and in Teka later on in Europe. So, I mean, that was just one team that was quite good. I mean, Brazilians and Argentinians are fantastic too. So,
Yeah, that was quite a
yeah, that was pretty good. Greenland guys had, 6, 7 guys in the first division, Denmark, and later on Jacob became Goodman's coach.
Yeah.
Right? So, again, not really sideshow kind of guys. And American guys that were in there, I mean, just looking at Derek Heath, Brown, Bobby, and
DeGrasse.
those guys that played in Europe for long years, and their run of handball in the U.S. after that. I mean, that was it was a pretty good generation. We had some epic battles, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then with like your playing career, you played at 2 Pan Am Games?
I played
1.
2, I believe, yes. Yeah, and I coached in 1.
Okay. You played in
Winnipeg.
Oh, in 99 you played in Winnipeg?
Yeah, in Guadalajara. And I believe for Rio, I think I had my knee surgery and I was finishing my CPA stuff because I stopped playing for about a couple of years around 2004.
Yeah.
Because I had to do schooling at some point in time.
Yeah. And then 2011 Mexico, and then you coached in 2015 in Toronto. Out of those experiences, did you enjoy the experience more as a player or as a coach?
Well, that's a great question, and it's always the tough question. I was watching a couple of days ago. The lady, her name is Svetlana Kitic. She had this type of interview with Serbian television. She was announced best female player ever, and she has done playing on toughest surfaces, toughest competitions, and she said that that's the easiest thing she has ever done. So all the coaching and all the administrating and everything is way tougher than playing. The great point. I mean, when you play within an hour. You can put everything in, and you can go really from stress to happy, but it's over. When you do coaching and when you do administrating and organizing, that is non-stop 24/7 pursuit. That's like owning private business. You own it. You made your decision, and that's you're in all the time, pretty much. So I think that's tougher. Playing is fun and it's hard, but tough, that comes when you're coach and when you're administrator because you're always tuned in.
Yeah. So from 95 when you began till now, what are big differences you've seen with Alberta handball? Do you think it's going in the right direction? What do you see as lacking in Alberta handball? Just overall, your perception of handball here in Alberta, the level compared. The big question that everyone talks about is, hey, was your generation better than this generation? And things like that. What do you see when you look at Alberta handball right now compared to 95?
Okay, I think that is absolutely the most important question. What happens next? First, a little bit about the history. I do not see the difference between the committed players now and before. People that are committed, they're good. They own it. They want to be handball players. Like they want to be a great surgeon or a great carpenter or whatnot. I'm going to say something now that's my opinion for a long period of time, but I didn't realize this from the beginning. All the team sports are actually individual sports to begin with. If the person cannot be world champion pole vaulter or hammer thrower or the gymnast or something, you will not be a great handball player or great nothing. That commitment and that buy-in has to be personal and it has to be ultimate. At the end of the day, for you to climb to the top of the scale, you as a coach, anybody involved in anything in the world, you cannot hide behind the team. I think team makes it easier, makes it more fun for people who like that type of environment. But first, you have to beat yourself. You have to go there. on your own and make that decision that you will do everything that's necessary. So that was the first part. Now, where we were and where we were at, I think that we have grown on the same platform a few times over. We had 2 to 3 generations that came to the pretty much similar point when it comes to success, and coaches participated and improved them, and now we're getting them more ready, much younger, sending people abroad, which is fantastic. It's all part of the experience, but it has to be a full package. If we do not get players to compete as well as participate, as well as train in that type of environment all the time, we will still stay in the place where we are at right now. We have no way, not just in Alberta, this is in Canada, we don't have a way to improve our overall output because we are not creating greater experiences, i.e., we don't have those leagues. We can't send our provincial or national teams to these greatest competitions all the time because of the finances and such and such. So, number 3 thing, you asked me what to do. I think that we are at a critical mass where we have done everything, and a fantastic job bringing people in, spreading around, but now we have to grow our infrastructure further. Many sports have gone there. Soccer went there, and many other sports that grew. We got to the point where we need not just 1 mic, we need 4 mics. Mike can be boss of next 3 mics, but that's what we need to develop. What Julius and I talked about in 1995 was building the builders. Now we have to build the builders of different kinds, bigger builders. Builders that will be on organizational boards, bring the finances, bring the exposure, secure possibly more money, get more coaches of the merit like Mike, so that we can multiply these things, and hopefully we can organize it in a way where all of a sudden we don't have 1, 2, 3 returning warriors from the Europe anymore, but we have more of them, and we have environment where we can retain them for a longer period of time, play in the senior leagues, play in the veteran leagues, create that attitude and that mentality that's going to be creating and building clubs that will last over not just a few years of junior time, but long time until you cannot play no more handball, but you can play golf and ping pong kind of thing. So I think that's where we're at. With all honesty and all power to the players, absolutely. Let's coach, let's play, let's do everything. But as an organization, as a sport, we have to step up. Our game has to go to the next level. Otherwise, we're going to be spinning until we get really tired of the same thing. So for whatever that means, it's a longer conversation, but that's what I think.
Yeah. But when you look at, say, from the time that I was playing for you, our season would be 8-9 months. Tournaments would be Regina Heritage Tournament and national championships. When we look at now, a 15-year-old, perfect example is someone that played in your generation, Kevin Kuipers. His son traveled, well, except COVID's time, Colton started at 15, 14 years old, traveled to Germany, traveled to, I can't remember where else he went. He's gone to a couple of European trips. I find that compared to the exposure that we're getting out there, the trips we're going on, the competition has grown a lot. Our players don't get excited to go to Regina anymore because, I mean, they're like, well, I go to Germany, I go to Norway, I go to Sweden. Like, I think that we've done a big job in making sure that we get over to Europe and to other places. I find I agree with you when it comes to the structure that we need more coaches and more people that are building programs, and that's where I think that we're really pushing the club structure, and we've implemented coaching certification programs that you have to be able to coach in league, because I think that's where we lack a lot, is that we have clubs are growing in more younger ages, but from the past till now, it's anyone that wants to sit on the bench can coach. But we have to make it that, no, you need a certification. You need to have an education in handball. And I think that's a big thing that we have to really push, is that I don't know why in handball, compared to so many other sports, everyone just thinks they can coach handball. and you don't need an education in it.
We did not ask, Mike. This is the problem because people don't have time. We don't have enough infrastructure. We don't take it serious enough. We do not have enough, not saying stringent, but enough serious set of rules that people have to behave by. And this big conversation again, but that has to come from our rule for organizations. There has to be a rule, if not by ATHF, put in it as a CTHF. I think that development is the number one role of the organization. People will compete on their own. They will go on the beach and throw the handball. But people that have to get serious about real business have to get serious about what you're talking about. Yeah. Build the builders is, yes, we have to put certifications in. We have to charge them in a certain way. I just had a conversation with a guy, and I'm going to stay that way. A couple of days ago, or a few days ago, we were looking at a youth practice. And this is an interesting thing. We were talking about certifications. And I was really trying to find out what certifications did we bring in to make people available to coach. And so I've been told this stuff, and I'm like, that's fantastic. That's a great news. And I'm like, okay, well, so if you want to do this, and I said, like, well, you know what? I'm actually a level 3 certified coach. And I said, oh, I really didn't know that. So my point of this is it doesn't really matter that I'm a level 3 certified coach. But there is, that type of knowledge is not commonplace. That's not the question people ask first. So I think that culture about championing your coaches and building that environment where they know what's necessary to say, for instance, well, if you're coaching now and want to coach national team one day, you're actually going to have to get there. So you better start with your level 1 right now so that you can get your provincial coaching at level 2 so we don't have to pay fines if you're not and people don't get lazy. So that you have time to get to level 3 and coach the national team. Yeah. My point is that's the developmental strategy that has to be put in place by the bodies that you organize, ATHF, CTHF, big time. Yeah. The job of the organization is not to buy travel tickets, it's to build the organization from the inside. Everybody, like travel agents, can do that stuff. So as you can see, I'm talking more about organizing things to put them in the right place than actually playing and everything else, because I believe that if we have a organization, everything comes from the head down, that everybody will have a room and a place and know what to do, because that will provide certain direction.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think last year when we decided that we needed to put certification to anyone to coach in any of our leagues, the problem is you can't get NCCP. Like CTHF doesn't offer anything. So we thought, well, we rather build our own coaching courses. At least we're giving some education. I mean, we wanted to do in gym stuff, but I mean, with COVID, you couldn't. So we did a lot of webinars. But like, again, the problem is you can go to a national championship right now without any certification because they don't even fine you anymore because they don't offer these courses anymore. So that's our problem. That's why in this country, you're not seeing any new young coaches coming up and going, oh, that might be the next new coach coming along, because there's no education to it.
100%, and that's why you have to invite the guests from all over the place. And now we have this situation where we're looking from the inside out rather than from outside in. Like, we're not anymore masters of our own destiny, and that is a problem. That is a very short-term solution. You can only buy expertise for only so long. If we don't build it internally, those guys will be gone one day when money is gone or something else is gone. What's going to be left behind? That's a big point. That's what everybody has to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you move your speaker a little closer to you, or your phone a little closer? Is that possible?
Is this better?
Yeah. It just it was hard to hear you in the last thing a little bit. So.
Me too.
Okay. So, anyways, now you become a father, and now you have a son in handball. I'm sure that was exciting for you to get your son Luca involved in handball a little bit. I mean, he's still only 12, I think, 13.
He's 12, and actually, I think it was more his dream to be involved in handball than mine. But we'll see.
Yeah. What are your plans with handball? Like, is it something? I know you've been really busy with your own life and kids and business. Are you still wanting to get more involved here upcoming, or you just don't have the time anymore?
No, I absolutely want to, Mike. If I would choose what to do in life, I'd rather do handball than what I do, to be honest with you. If I could, because that would be like having a free time all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's easier to say than to do. And realistically speaking, yes, I do. I would like to do as much as my time allows me. But you said it. I have a young family. I have one son and I have two twins that are 3.5 years old. So that's the kicker. Actually, those little guys are really busy kind of time. Luca is playing, as you said, and there is almost no reason for me to show up, or he shows up. If I have to take him and not to put some work and do something with it as well, it would be just, I think, shame and waste of time. So from that standpoint, I think I would like to do that. But my very much of a point here is that I don't want to be in the way of anybody, because I think everybody needs all the minutes to play and to coach that they can get if they're already there. So this is something that we kind of have to sit down and say, like, where do you really belong? I mean, where can the experience be used in the best way? And that's why I was saying that building the builders or some alike situation is more likely to, I think, contribute. But for that, we need more of a conversation and sit down and figure out what's our next step organizationally to say, like, really, how could I use my time in the best way?
Yeah, that's well said. And now when was the last time you played in a club?
It was about 3 years ago. I had some health issues and some injuries and stuff like that. I mean, like, I'm not a young buck anymore, so I played about 3 years ago. I had to stop mid of the season because I had to deal with some things.
Yeah.
So that's when it was last time.
And so, I mean, as of Friday, we had a hold on our league due to COVID. You were supposed to play your first game on Sunday. Were you pretty excited to play that game?
Yes, I was excited. You know what? I was excited, but I was kind of, I don't know what to tell. I was kind of apprehensive. Like, it's not easy to get back on those old wheels. Like, you kind of worry about a few things.
Yeah.
But I was going to do it with some of my old friends.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, everybody's in the same boat. And we kind of teamed up with some new and young legs that hopefully can give us some support. So idea is really just to come back and support the sport and have this recreational situation where we can run out and hang out. And I think it's first of all, it's mentally healthy for all of us to get out to anything, then physically, obviously, as much as we can, because sport is not, if you're going to play at a certain level, it's not a joke to participate, right? And from that standpoint, everybody's excited, not just me. I think it'd be great to touch a ball again,
Last question is, so the World Championships is coming up in January in Egypt. Who do you think's gonna? Who are you predicting is gonna win?
I hope it's not the COVID team.
Yeah.
First of all, are we talking hypothetically if everybody shows up, all the teams show up?
Yes. Well, I heard today that Dubniak, it might not come. Him and Palmerson were kind of upset that they're going to continue with the World Championship. So if the teams have their players.
If the teams would have their players. You got me now. I still think if everybody shows up, I don't know who's coaching Denmark right now. Is Jacob?
It's Paulson.
Nikolai Jakobsen still there?
Yeah, Jakobsen.
Is he still there, or somebody taking over?
No, it's Jakobsen, the one that won the Worlds he won the Euro.
Okay, I'll tell you, if that same team shows up, I think their favorite's number one because they have experience of winning. They beat France last time, and they beat them in probably one of the best tactical games that I've seen in the last 15 years, in the last finals. So Norway would be right after them because they have the biggest complement of the players, and not just because of Sagosen. I think that Gordon Johannesson is the guy who's coming so strong that they have that second punch now. Yeah. And Rod is fantastic, and Rambo and all these guys on the right side. Rankin is there. They're so loaded. They're so loaded that I think just in a long competition like World Championship, where they have over 30 teams now, you have to be loaded with players. I think those two teams are the longest with a bench kind of thing. France is there, but I think because Karabatic is hurt right now and his age is there, I don't think they're there with their back play anymore. They have some young backs, don't get me wrong, they play fantastic handball, but to win in this type of thing, you have to be. Croatia is there always, but they have to be loaded. Everybody has to be there. So I don't know. I can see Trevor is calling back all the veteran wingers because that's where they were iffy last time in some of the executions. I'm hoping one of their lefty comes back. So that's my top four.
The thing with Croatia is, like, I think they're the best, like, starting team, but the coach, he kills them throughout. Like, they don't make a lot of substitutions, and by the time they get into the Final Four, they're dead.
Fair enough. The problem last time was that they had only one left right back. Okay, that he's in Big Saget right now. So he kind of blew his wad a little bit in the beginning. So they had to play three right-handers, Karadzic, Tindic, and Duvnjak. And Tindic got hurt. He couldn't play last 2 to 3 games. Yeah. So if we're going to play this pickup handball all day long, hide the ball type of stuff, Croatia is probably going to win because they have most ball handlers on the club. Yeah. However, is that enough in a long tournament? That's the problem because even Duvnjak is not young anymore. Can they sustain that length of the tournament? That's my only question. Yeah. I then look into teams of full 16 players, and to me and now really it's so hard to think about it because the COVID, even if everybody shows up mentally, where are the people? Who's playing? Who's missing the games? Who's in consistent shape and form? We would have to really kind of imagine what happens because circumstances are unlike any time before. Yeah. Yeah. So look, that doesn't exclude that somebody's going to sneak in domestic. Look, Qatar a few years ago, Egypt's going to load up. Yeah. This year they're playing at home, partisan crowd. Who knows? There's always a chance that they can sneak up close to the top. And, in a one-game situation, elimination situations, anybody can win. And they won juniors last time. Yeah. They have some guys playing in Europe, so they're loaded. Mm-hmm. Possibility.
What do you think of the USA getting the spot?
What I think about USA getting the spot, I think that, first of all, I'm not sure what is the premise. I've read a couple of justifications why they got a spot. Yeah. And apparently that's some kind of ranking that was from the last competition, whatever the IHF took as the measuring stick, correct?
The IHF said, like, the story is, they offered people to host it and everyone kind of backed out of hosting it. So the North American Caribbean Federation, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, sent in a request to IHF saying, can you just determine who goes? And then IHF came out and said this, but the big reason is we're trying to, like, build U.S. handball.
Okay. Look, that's legit intention to build, but that's absolutely zero reason to put somebody in the World Championship. And you could arbitrarily pick anybody from any region at any point in time. You can't do that. Then qualifications are invalid and all that stuff. If they have any kind of competitive reason to do it at a certain point in time, that's okay. If they want to support them, they can give them $5 million and organize a professional league in the United States to help them out that way. Because there's lots of people and whatnot. One competition, Mike, will not change that for them. In North America, it's notorious that we put and throw our resources behind this big one, kind of let's make the world, let's make Pan Am Games. And then it takes a long time to get back to that level of the program. The issue is not the competition. The issue is the program that will, over a consistent period of time, produce particular players and particular teams. And we face that in Canada. Even if we do the best programs, we're short from, let's play all the qualifications in all the world and everything together so that we can actually get the best product to the field when we get to the competition, to the big one. And then we can get 4 years more and 4 years more. So I think that one thing will not change that. But I also think that it's not the real answer to the question. I think that U.S. was easy pick because they were somewhat organized and whatnot, and I can tell you that the other people are not so much organized. So,
well, Greenland put in they argued pretty much because they kind of showed them the history between Greenland rankings and USA rankings. And I think in the last 15 years, USA's not beat Greenland. So I know the Greenland Federation was pretty upset about the selection of the team.
I can imagine, because as I said before, to no athlete in the world or sports person, any arbitrary reasoning can be found as justifiable. Yeah. We all want to develop more. We all need more money. We all need more support. Yeah. That's not just US. Yeah. Yeah. US is a big country. They can stand on their own 2 feet. They don't need that much of the material support, but get them competition around themselves and get them going, and they should respond.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. What do you think of a big thing is like talking to people in the States, and it kind of, you were the coach in 2015, about just people that have American passport, Canadian passports, being the majority of the national team. Do you find that that's fine, or do you find that really like Canada Handball or US should really build inside the country?
I 100% believe that countries should build inside of the country, 120% actually. That doesn't mean that those people and those players will make the national team. If you have naturalized person that's going to make it there, and or it's more like I moved here, I lived here for most of my life. That's a certain story. But if you're going to naturalize somebody, like again, Qatar example is a very big example of that. But Qatar has very strong league. They have foreigners playing there, it's professional league, and all that. If those naturalized players are pushing you over the bar and raising the pride of your nation to compete better in a said competition and motivate younger players from your nation that are already built how to get there, then it's justifiable. If you just want to load them up so that we can show up, we have a team in international competition, that's a bailout. That's a cover for us not having real development. Same like anybody else. It cannot be, it can be both. It doesn't have to be one or another. And that's what I was saying before. There should be a program that's supported all the time. That's not the revolving door that exists on a national, provincial, or state level in the states, and where the people are loaded in all the time. There has to be the mass of the coaches, of the players, of the referees. And now, if you want to naturalize 3 more people to bring you over the bar, you should not add 3 more people just to participate. You should add 3 more people just to make it way, way better. If you remember when you guys were young, like we were always saying, we don't need our veterans to warm up our benches. Yeah. We need that for the young people to learn what happens next. If you want to be a veteran, you need to be a leader, you need to participate, you need to bring something to the table. Otherwise, you're coming for the school trip here. I believe that same applies to the national teams and everywhere else.
So with national team here, what do you find? You were a coach with the national team. What do you think is the issue with our national teams? Like, why aren't we getting the best players from Canada to play on the national team? Do you find that the country's too big? Do you find that financially it's just too much for everyone to do?
Okay, just give me 1 second, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't hear it, so I have to turn something off. Just a second.
Yeah.
Listening, going in the back of my room here.
Yeah.
Okay, so repeat that. You were asking me why the best playing?
Yeah, like why in Canada are like I mean, we got surpassed by USA now. We're not doing well in the seniors. The best players are not wanting to play. What do you think is our issue with our national teams?
Okay, number 1 issue is that we do not have a program at this point in time. We have don't have a home. We don't have identification program. We do not keep in touch with these people. We do not follow our players. Nobody's responsibility realistically in front of the Canadian handball public is to do this, because again, we went to this thought that it is possible maybe to put a team together and just send them to the competition. there could be different reasons for it, but it takes time, and we need to build first an organization that will create a mandate, that will explain what it wants to do to its members, then to get qualified people to deliver that mission, and then everybody will believe that there is some meat, they will benefit, they will learn, they will have exposure internationally, playing for national team, that will advance their careers, etc., etc., etc. That should apply equally to the coaches and to the players. However, organization has to do that. That has to be there. You can't just pick off a group of players to go to one competition in Canada. There is no way. We are too big. The seasons are so different. People who play abroad, are you in touch with them? Do you have a chance to train together? There has to be some kind of common ground. And by just calling people, inviting and asking them what they think, that just automatically shows people that organization is not ready. You should be delivering programs. You should be saying what happens, when, where, who is coming to evaluate, who is there to support you, where are the tools, where are you going to go for the trips, for preparation, what are our goals. Again, that's not easy, but that has to be there for the current players. And you know what, when our young guys and girls, or girls and guys in whichever order, go out there in the world and in academies in Europe, and even in their local clubs, and they see the level of organization over there.
Sorry, Zoran, 1 second. Is your hand over the? I was hearing you well, but then you moved the camera, and now it can't hear you well.
Is it better now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay, so when we send our young people out there in the world and they come back and they cannot see anything similar or even close to that, particularly when it comes to national level, they're going to think it's a joke. Yeah. They will just not buy into it. We have to, it's like a business. We have to show and organize in a way that's going to look to them at least legit. We cannot look at our players to say, oh, you're a Canadian player, you should not deserve anything. Like you can train in whenever and whoever wins, and you're going to be just glad to show up. That you should be here anyway. That's not how it works anymore. It doesn't. We have to provide certain conditions and certain organization for those people to come, so they feel comfortable enough that they don't feel like they're wasting their time or money, for that matter, because we know it's pay to play here in Canada. Yeah. And I think that, which is most important, I think this influences the people that are actually super important to us. And that's not even players. That's their parents. That's their environment. That's potential sponsors. Those are the people who would follow our players who look good, organized, talk happy, have positive experiences, and they will send out that message in the world that we're a great organization and great sport that deserves to be followed and supported. And then you get people from the background to come forward and say, hey guys, how do we make the next step forward? Now, because we can see that you love it, we see that you're serious and you're willing to put that all in front of our kids. And it's a good story to be associated with you. Mm-hmm. That's where we need to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that we lack in all aspects. I think we have the athletes. I think we have the people. I just don't think we have the right organization in place for our national teams to be successful.
100%. I have no doubt. I mean, we've done this before. This is not unheard of.
Yeah.
It's been done before. We just need to organize. Organization has to be strong. It has to be valid. It cannot look like it has holes. It cannot look like people are fighting. There has to be common message out there for us to be taken seriously.
Well, it's crazy. Like the only thing I hear, I mean, I work full time for our federation. The only thing I hear about national teams is a private Facebook group that that's people from Alberta that are on that tell me about it. There's nothing on their website or information of how the selection process is done or anything like that. You don't know anything. It just right now it's, oh, you want to go, you can go. So I think that's a huge problem with our national teams.
You know, this is almost like asking somebody to put kind of $5,000 to $10,000 on the red or black over next year or two, and you go to high school or go to university, because really, what are your guarantees? But this is the mentality, Mike. This is what I'm talking about. The Canadian perspective is different than if you look from the professional perspective in Europe. Over there, you just announce anything, people will run to you because there's a ton of them. The competition is huge. That's not just the case here. We need to cater to some of our players, at least when it comes to organization, and to help them along the way and put them in situations where they can succeed. Because we're just not there. We don't have that level of trust and that level of experience where people will just automatically come in and do everything they can. You can call that multi-generational, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But if you want to be a serious organization, particularly in new generations, millennials, people that are generations of video conference like we are here, very visual, very used to use tools, they have to see people who are saying come and then you're going to experience are wrong. That's 20, 30 years ago. Now you have to show things to the young people, what they're going to be part of. Part of the Cup, I showed you the shirt from Part of the Cup that I went to when I was a kid. And we were always saying, like, we have to get our kids out there. We did. But nowadays, you show the video of those kids coming across that stage with 700 other clubs. Well, you tell me, what brings you more people, my shirt or your video?
The video.
Well, of course. So the game has changed, and people have to change with the game. And approach to the people and how to win the people is absolutely different. We have to create an environment that's inviting, cool, secure, and then young people will participate. And then the people that support them will come with that. By just saying, hey, I'm going to hire the coach and all of a sudden everybody should come because Zoran played the national team 30 years ago. No, you just said it. They've heard about it, but they don't know much about it, right?
I know I said last question, but it's kind of got me asking questions. From what I get is, like, I look at Alberta and I think that now compared to the late 90s, early 2000s when I was a player, is that we're at the younger ages, we win. If there's a nationals, we win. Like it used to be very competitive with us in Quebec, but now it's in the girls' side, it's a 30-goal difference. But, I know that we're working hard and our athletes are starting younger, getting better. I know Quebec does their job. But I find that there's not many other provinces that have younger programs, that have programs anymore. Do you find that it's coming from the Canadian Team Handball Federation that's not doing a lot of guidance for the provinces, or you just think that you just don't have the builders in the provinces?
Okay, it's kind of rude, but I'm going to answer the question with the question. Mike, who made you do what you do?
Well, I found passion in handball. You were my coach. I loved handball, but I remember the talks we had, and when I had issues, you would meet with me, and you kind of pushed me to, hey, start coaching. When I started coaching, you came to some of my practices, hey, try this, do that. And to me, it's people like you that help me fall in love with the sport and want to give back.
So the answer is twofold. Both organizations, provincial and federal organizations, it doesn't matter what's the name, has to provide experience you just talked about. You have to have mentors. You have to have organization above you that will send you people to help exactly what you just said, what you just talked about. You have to have support. Nobody should be out there on their own. So what I think is that if we have stronger provinces, like let's say Alberta or Quebec, we should be out there, which I told you earlier about, and supporting to build our builders. The provinces where we do not have that, and we want them in, their top organization, which is CKHF, not our province, CKHF, has to have developmental policy where they will invest in resources.
You put, sorry, 1 sec. Your hand went over the thing or whatever.
You're back here?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So I believe that CKHF has to have developmental policy where they will send people from there to develop those undeveloped areas. I have passed my level 2 and 3 with mentors from Manitoba.
Yeah.
Jeremy Massey was my level 3 instructor. Okay? Our organization will not succeed. We will not be able to do nothing in those provinces that have not if we do not give them support and expertise. And for that, we might need financial backing and might need people. Who says they cannot hire Mike to go into another province and do it? But they have to do it. Mike has no mandate over another province except if you initialize that contact. But why would you have to do it? What's the job of the Canadian Federation then? There has to be the policy to develop, and we have to use all the tools that we have in Canada and otherwise to develop inside Canada, not just to coach the national teams. That's not enough. That's a nice reward for the best players, but you're not going to develop much. Maybe some of them will coach one day, but they're not vested in development yet enough. They might get tired from playing and all that stuff. Yeah. We need to find people who will do development. Period. That should be number one job. And I'm talking coaching, reffing, playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because waiting for everybody to just get tired of it is exactly that.
Well, that's where I think, I mean, from my point of view is, like, I hear from CTHF once a year, and that's when we owe them the affiliation fee. And the problem is, like, again, I'm able here to be a full-time handball person, so I'm able to give time. But the problem in so many other provinces, it's volunteer-based. And like you said, if they're not getting resources to help them build, what do they care about? They'll just do
100%.
Their own province.
100%, Mike. And you know what? You were saying we need 3 of you too, because I can say, honestly, we're tapped out. We have not tapped out in a negative way. We're tapped out in a positive way.
Yeah.
We need to give you more time or to coach coaches or to coach players and bring somebody else to do other things. Why wouldn't we spread our resources even further so that we can organize even better and bring more people in? Yeah. And if our job is to secure the funds for one more professional person and double our numbers just because of that, or make it 20, 30% bigger, our mission is clear. Yeah. There is nothing else we need to do at this point in time. And if the other provinces could do the same, but to follow and do it at home, then we would have those people that love the sport and are crazy about it and do everything. But if it's always like a poor situation, we don't have it, we don't know when it's going to happen, people lose the track of what's going on. Yeah. So, I mean, how do you develop if you don't have intent to develop?
Yeah, that's so true. That's true.
Should be number one job, should be number one mission. All this other participatory stuff is nice, makes us exist, make us warm and cozy, but that's not what it is.
Yeah, I think you're saying, I remember when I kind of started with the federation and I kind of had, my own kind of plan of how to build the mini handball, all the age categories. You always said to me, you'll run out of money before you run out of people.
Actually, no, opposite. You're going to run out of people before you run out of money, then no money is going to be good to you.
Yeah.
That's why we spend money on hiring you. That's what I told people who gave you the job. Because
Yeah.
they were, what are we going to do with our money? I don't know, burn it, whatever you need to. Spend it on handball, and spending it on handball means building the builders.
Yeah.
And that's your future coaches and your future players and referees. And if you don't invest in that, your money is good for nothing.
Yeah. No, exactly. So, yeah, a lot of work to do. But again, I think when we look back, I think you were the start of, I know there was handball in Alberta, and but I think you brought it to the next level. I think you, again, your belief in build the builders. I mean, I became a coach out of your program. There's people like Steve Bennett, Mark Smith, Ryan Hornbacker, many more that really became the next generation of coaches that coached into the mid 2000s.
Sure.
And that's where.
And it was cool. That's the point. It was cool. It was almost sense of belonging. It wasn't, I have to give something back for myself. But I think it was part of the culture that it was actually participatory to do something. Nobody had to make you. It was almost like, look, all these guys are doing something. I want to play golf with one day with them, but I better do something too.
Yeah.
Because it became our culture.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the start of the growth of handball. Like, not just like when you look back in the 90s, you had 12, 13 players that were like provincial team players that were great handball players. But now it's that next generation took it to more players in the programs, more opportunities, going to high schools, building the high school programs, the junior high schools, and so forth and so forth. So I think that was the start of like more of a professional outlook on the federation, more than just a recreational outlook on the federation.
Mike, I think that was a culture. The whole answer, the whole thing, it became all right and culturally acceptable to be a handball player. You didn't have to be a hockey player anymore to be cool. You didn't have to be a football player to be cool. You could be a handball player and be very cool. And that did not have to take you being a national team or going abroad or whatnot, but it could be as, let's participate together. Let's coach together high school. Let's go to beach handball together. Let's do these things as part of community and handball society. How many people, we had relationship, married each other over the years, and it's all that stuff. I'm just saying it became second nature, and that is because people have participated. We put our resources into building that culture. It's not just the time. Any little money we had, we put it behind that too. If we had more, we would put more. We're non-for-profit. We're not taking any money home.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well, again, I want to thank you for this. And again, like for the younger people that really watch this, I think it's important that they know they've heard your name, and a lot of people still talk about you, but like when we say there was no better player than Zoran that's ever we played against, and people are like, oh, is he as good as people now? And it's still, no one has seen a player like you in this country. So it's
that's okay. We're coming back, Mike.
Yeah.
We're coming back. Maybe we'll just wait from the bench, but that's okay.
The
fear factor.
The Avengers have been pushing me to play with them, so it's quite funny.
I hear you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It's good to think about it, eh? Put a smile on your face, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this, and hopefully everything is good with you and your family, and we'll be in touch soon. Hopefully we could see you at the gym soon.
Absolutely. I'm going to meet Pipes actually right now. That's my teammate. That's Colton's dad, and he's older than me, and he's going to play, so I have to go get ready.
Yeah. Take care, Zoran.
Okay. Take care, Mike. Bye.